Hello everyone! So for my final project for this course, I decided to focus on the show Reservation Dogs. So a little summary about the show. This series follows a group of four Indigenous teenagers, Alora Dannon, Bear Smallhill, Willie Jack, and Cheese, called the Res Dogs, who live on a reservation in eastern rural Oklahoma. After their good friend and fifth member of the group, Daniel, dies, they take to scheming, stealing, and saving money in order to fulfill Daniel's big dream of visiting the sunny state of California. However, after they start their risky endeavors, the plan goes awry and the group disbands, causing everyone to forge their own paths and possibly even starting new relationships and connections. It also essentially shows the trials, tribulations, and hardships of native life on a reservation in rural Oklahoma. A little background information on the creators of the show. The series is co-created and executively produced by Sterling Harjo and Taika Waititi. Sterling Harjo, who is pictured on the left, is an American Indigenous movie producer, director, and documentary filmmaker. He is also a member of the Seminole Nation and has Muskogee heritage. He was born and raised in Holdenville, Oklahoma, and went to the University of Oklahoma, where he studied art and film. Taika Waititi, who is pictured on the right, is an American award-winning Indigenous New Zealand comedian, director, writer, and actor. He was born in Rockcore, New Zealand, and raised by a Maori father, who was an artist, and a Russian Jewish descendant mother who worked as a teacher. And you might also recognize him from Jojo Rabbit and Thor Love and Thunder and Thor Ragnarok, all of which he directed. The two coincidentally met in 2004 at the Sundance Film Festival and hit it off almost immediately. This was mostly due to the fact that they bonded over similar childhood stories and memories. The two eventually brought their artistic thoughts together and years later began creating what is now Reservation Dogs. So some significant pieces of information about the series. The first episode premiered on August 9th, 2021. It was filmed on location in Okmulgee, Oklahoma. It is a teen comedy series, even though it includes and presents heavy topics like suicide and poverty to the audience. And one big piece of significant information about the series is that every director, writer, and lead actor working within the series is Indigenous. This was very important to both Sterling and Taika when they first started creating the show. And this project is the first of its kind, and it was very groundbreaking to the television/film industry, and it was, of course, groundbreaking to the American Indigenous community as well. It was also said to be one of the greatest and most original television shows that is set in Oklahoma's Indigenous territory. And one last piece of significant information about the series is that the series as a whole has won multiple awards, some of which being the 2022 Independent Spirit Award for Best New Scripted Series, the 2022 Peabody Award for Entertainment, the 2022 Independent Spirit Award for Best Ensemble Cast in a Scripted Series, and 2022 AFI TV Program of the Year, and the 2021 Gotham Independent Film Award for Breakthrough Series under 40 minutes. So a little bit about what you are seeing and hearing in the show. In the first season, the series follows the Gang of Four as they try to accumulate money, sometimes illegally, in order to live out their friend Daniel's big dream of leaving the reservation in Oklahoma and making it to the sunny state of California. They do this by stealing a Flaming Flamers chips truck. They attempt some low-grade Grand Theft Auto, and they also sell meat pies outside their local clinic, which you can also see in the picture next. Another little bit about what you see in the show, you also see some real problems facing Native youth in a more modern setting, one of which being suicide/mental health. And this is seen in the first season when we find out that their best friend Daniel, um, who is a part of the Res Dogs, committed suicide due to mental health struggles. It is also seen in the job opportunities on the reservation, and an example of this is when the character Bear tries to find a job in the third episode of the second season, and he eventually has to settle on becoming a roofer with Cheese's uncle because there isn't a lot of job opportunities available on the reservation. And another one of the problems that is expressed in the show is healthcare. And in the show, the local IHS clinic is poorly ran and shows how poorly run and severely underfunded these types of clinics are in real life. Another big thing that you see in the show is the support from the group members' loving community of friends, aunties, uncles, and parents that try and guide them through their lives on their reservation. And this is seen in the second season when the character Alora's grandmother Mabel passes, and many of her family members and friends come together to support Alora and her grandmother as she makes her journey into the afterlife. During this episode, we also see some traditional native singing and customs/traditions they perform to help peacefully transition people into their afterlife. An interview with actor Davery Jacobs, who plays Alora, when she talks about this episode, she comments, "I feel like it's a really different, hands-on experience versus Western cultures. I've been to a couple white funerals in my life, and they oftentimes feel hands-off and a bit more isolated and somber." So a little bit about the function and format of the show. Throughout the series, they play a lot with the cinematography, and this was very much seen in the color that's used in the show. For example, in some of the more dramatic/scary scenes, you see some muted dark tones to create a sense of discomfort and eeriness. However, within the series as a whole, there seems to be a muted yellow tone that follows each episode and season throughout the series. They also show this through the movement of the characters and camera. An example of this is if there was a fast-paced running, chasing, or driving scene, the camera would follow the characters to enhance the feeling of chaos. Or if there were some characters walking together, the camera would follow in real time, like a documentary, to look like you were actually walking with them. So after reflecting on the show, I found that it connected to two of our course themes, one of which being cultural identity, and this is because the series gives us a glimpse into the modern-day American Indigenous reality that goes beyond the typically used narratives of misery and victimization. It also had to do with each character holding and expressing their own unique cultural identity with their community, especially with the traditional native languages, practices, and customs that were highlighted with the series. I also found that it connected to our course theme of stereotypes, because the series goes against the sad and historical Indian stereotypes because they incorporated comedy, and it is placed in a modern setting in which the characters are dealing with real contemporary issues. I also found that the series mocks the classic stoic Indian warrior stereotype with the obnoxious character Spirit, who magically appears and likes to make jokes instead of giving useful, productive advice that a typical spirit guide would. The show also had an impact on my understanding of the course themes. This is because it reminded me of the importance of letting Native/Indigenous people tell their own stories in the way that they wanted to be perceived and acknowledged. It also reminded me that we cannot shy away from or ignore the issues, difficulties, and inequalities that Indigenous people face on a day-to-day basis, especially on reservations. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, and please go check out Reservation Dogs on Hulu. Thank you.